Hey everybody, welcome back to the Tribe of Nerds. Shane and I are back for another Survivor What If, pondering the question in this vast multiverse. What would happen if you changed one thing? We are here with Erik Reichenbach from Survivor Micronesia and Caramoan, my fellow Michigander. Excited to have you here, Erik.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
of course.
How have you been?
Good. Busy. So the season 49 just started, so I'm doing comics again, Dabu Doodles on Instagram, Reddit, and I think Blue Sky. But yeah, I'm busy with other stuff as well, with comic books and other stuff. So just busy, but good.
Yeah, I've been seeing your posts on Instagram. It looks really awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. And it's fun too because the people of the season, I get to kind of connect with the people that are playing. They can't really say anything, till the end of the season. But it's fun that they start to see that people are drawing pictures of them from being on the show. It's pretty cool to meet the new cast in that way.
Right. For sure. All right. Well, let's get into the what if. So Shane, you want to kick it off with Survivor Micronesia?
Sure. So yeah, I feel like season 16, it's definitely one of my favorite seasons. I think it's only slightly below Heroes versus Villains for me. So a lot of people always talk about Micronesia. And at the time it was great. We've never really had a half fraternity, half new player season. So that was interesting to watch.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of you come in as a fan, which is great to see. And there's so many what ifs, if you do one thing, how does the season change? And one that we kind of want to talk about here in your game that was interesting is that a little before the merge, Amy, Tracy, and Chet come up to you and say, hey, we've got Amy. Amy says she'll side with us if we vote out Ozzy because Ozzy is going to dominate this game and be a challenge threat. Will you do it? And you ultimately don't, and Chet gets voted out. Right. What if instead you decided to side with them and you vote out Ozzy at that point? How do you think your game and the season in general plays out?
So at any point, it could have been a turn in terms of the fans fell apart. The fans really just numbers-wise, strategically, we all fell apart in our own different ways. I will say in the grand multiverse, it would be most of the times that the multiverse would play out in this scenario, Chet would have left. He was very determined to leave, and that was because of an injury with his foot. And he did not want to stick around injured. We were trying to convince him, we were trying to say, you should just stick around this tribal and you can quit right after we vote Ozzy out, if you want. At tribal, you can say kick me out, take me out. He just wouldn't do it. He was convinced he was going to do it that way. And I think no matter how you played it out, maybe 1% of the multiverse would be Chet side with us. That said, if Ozzy got kicked out at that moment, I think a lot of stuff could have unraveled in terms of the fans versus favorites. It would have been more of an open playing field sooner. Because Amy could have done something more with us. If she did that play successfully, she could say we could use the fans more like pawns to target each other, because a lot of the favorites had targets on them. It kind of got delayed. That happened anyway on that season, after the merge, and it was pretty clear there were only 4 fans left and the rest of the people were favorites. All the favorites were just gunning at each other at that point. And it turned out that it was obviously the women gunning at the men as well inside of that. So that's how I would see that going.
Yeah. So you had obviously Ozzy ends up getting taken out at the final 9 at that point. So now you're outnumbered by the women and the fans and the favorites numbers are even. So at that point, what was your plan moving forward now once Ozzy went out?
No plan. For my first season, I was not a strategic animal. I was shell-shocked. I was amazed to even be there. That's part of the reason I gave up immunity when I did. Strategically, I was not a good player. I was very much just having a fun time and being with people. There was no thought other than make the next vote, which actually is a pretty good strategy. If you're not one of those 4D chess types of players, just getting through the next vote is a pretty solid strategy. You can go really far with that, and people do. So that was it. That was literally like, get out Ozzy. There also was like a lot of hype around Ozzy. Like, as a fan watching the show, like, Ozzy's the standard. Like, he's the challenge beast. Didn't he get fan favorite in Cook Islands or something?
Yeah.
He's the guy. Like, if you can take out Ozzy, that's a big deal. And if you can say you were part of that, that's a big deal. So that really was the effect there with Chet, is like, let's use Chet one more time to do something really epic.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then I wanted to ask too, like, you mentioned being a huge fan going in. Like, did you have any inkling that the season was going to have returning players? Like, did they tell you that at all? Or you just went in and you see them on the mat and you're shocked there?
They didn't tell us. Back in that time, what was that, 2006? There was, I think Twitter was just forming. There was no Survivor Reddit, as far as I know. Maybe there was, but nobody was on it. I was relying on the website Survivor Sucks, which was that was the only site around. It was just a forum for people who don't know. And I would go on there pretty much every day leading up to being on the show to see maybe there's a spoiler, maybe someone said something. When I was on the way out there, we knew that there were only 10 people on our cast, and that's not a full cast. So there's another tribe. Maybe they're just separating us. Like, it's just another tribe of like newbies, but they're just separating us. As soon as we got to like the boat where you come in and you see Jeff for the first challenge, Mikey B called everything. Mikey B was like, this is a returning season of people. I know that it's going to be this. Other players started to question him, like who do you think is going to be there? And Mikey B starts rattling off people. He's like, Yowman's going to be here, I'm sure. James is going to be here, I'm sure. Ozzy's going to be. He just starts rattling off people, and we're like, what in the heck? Like, Mikey just knew everything. And then when we were there, like seconds later, everything was validated. He was like, I told you guys. So Mikey B had all those pieces put together. I did not at all. I kind of was like, it could be fans' first favorites, like a new twist, but it's probably not. I really didn't know. But CBS didn't tell us anything.
Wow. Yeah. And Mikey B, obviously, he ends up being one of the first boots from the fans tribe. So did him like calling everything, did that immediately just put a target on his back?
I don't think it did. What put a target on his back was he was talking strategy a lot really early. And he also kind of paired up with Mary Bortone at the time. And that didn't really matter so much. And they probably weren't even that close. Like, it just kind of, the optics of it looked like he was close with her. And then that kind of made Joel paranoid. Joel got paranoid like so fast. And he did have some numbers because he had me and Alexis and Natalie. And so he really quickly was like, we got to get rid of Mikey. Let's take out Mary first so that he feels alone. And then we'll go after Mikey. So Mikey really just was talking too much strategy too early. And that made basically Joel paranoid.
Yeah, I did want to ask about the Mikey B vote. So we've heard rumors that the Mikey B vote was actually a tie at Tribal initially. Was that actually how it went down, or
it may have been, and I will have to remember back. I really don't know, honestly. I don't. It's possible it was, but it's been so long now. You know, it's been easily over 10 years. That's a big what if moment, I would say, honestly, is if Mikey B survived. Mikey B would have been a huge player in that game, which really is crummy. I know he really liked Survivor. He's really into it. That's a huge what if. If he would have gone a couple more tribals, Mikey B would have been like a Penner type of person, I think.
Yeah, I could definitely see from him he had a lot of potential, both like strategy wise and also character wise, because he had in my opinion, a really funny opening confessional where he's like rattling off like who's on your tribe, like the Incredible Hulk, John Bon Jovi in his prime, like all that stuff.
Yeah, I think he called me Bleecker from Juno, from the movie Juno. Bleeker's the kid with the running shorts.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. Anything else from Micronesia, Shane?
No, I think we can move on to Caramoan.
All right, so you were a fan of Micronesia, you return as a favorite in Caramoan, and you make it all the way to Final 5 again, but unfortunately you do get medevaced. So run us through what was happening there. I mean, what if you didn't get medevaced?
So my plan was, this will make, I think, strategist's head explode. My plan was to take Dawn and Brenda to the end. And my reasoning behind that was they were good people. And even if I lost to them, I would feel good about the people in the final 3. I saw John Cochran as a little bit of too much of a political animal. Like he just kind of was more opportunistic, which I think that isn't a good way to win. And that's kind of why I think John did win ultimately, because he was an opportunist. But I didn't want to take, I don't know why we didn't want to take Eddie, but Eddie was just, everybody loved Eddie. Like everybody just assumed you would lose to Eddie. And Eddie's a good guy too. He just wasn't the deal that I made early on. I think the early deal that I made that I wanted to stick to was Brenda and Dawn. And it's just because I saw them as good and authentic people. Dawn definitely turned out to not be as authentic. It got very messy with Dawn in terms of that stuff. And then I think Brenda, for a large part, wanted to rehabilitate her image as a villain. And so she was trying to play more authentic to who she was in her real life versus a character on a show. But that was my reasoning for that. So if I would not have been medevaced, Brenda would have been kicked out. So that would ruin that plan. I probably would have just tried to win immunity challenges to the end and call out stuff as I saw it, because I would start to figure out and say there, you know, Dawn, you've been inauthentic, so I really can't take you to the end. So it might have been an Eddie at the end. With, if I had my choice, if I kept winning immunities and I could choose, you know, who to bring with me and stuff, it may have been like Eddie and Cochran, really, I think.
You saw that you had those 2 immunity challenges. You had the House of Cards and you had the Flame Puzzle challenge. I mean, are those challenges you think you definitely could have won?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I think so. One of my job at the time, one of the jobs that I did have was at the grocery store Trader Joe's. And it involves a lot of balance. It involves a lot of, you know, boxes and moving stuff around. I think those challenges I would have done well. I think the other one was an obstacle course. There was a component, I think, of it. Of an obstacle course. And those I do really well with as well in terms of running through them and everything. So I don't think that those would have been a problem compared to playing against Sherry and Dawn and Cochran. Eddie was the guy really you had to beat, but Eddie also was kind of running out of steam towards the end. You could tell it was kind of wearing on him.
Yeah.
Did you have any interest, you think, in taking Sherry to the end because she was, you know, someone that was easy to beat, or you kind of had the mindset of, I want to win, but also take people that deserve it there?
Yeah, Sherry was a very complicated person. I bounced back and forth between Sherry's a snake and Sherry doesn't. She's out of her element, and we need to have sympathy for her. She's having a tough time. Like I bounced back and forth between then. She had a lot of similarities with Dawn in that way. Like I saw her and Dawn as kind of the same in terms of I wanted to help them because it looked like they struggled at times, but then at other times they're playing behind your back or they're saying things behind your back, which is like, don't say that stuff. If someone's helping you, don't do that. There's probably a reality where I took Sherry at some point. I just never had those conversations just because I went out so soon with respect to that end game. I really don't know. I don't know. Maybe I would have taken Sherry. You know, obviously Brenda was out of the picture, so my final 3 scenario got broken. That also invalidated Dawn in my final 3 structure, so Dawn was out of the picture. I mean, maybe.
Yeah. We also did have Phillip on a previous interview for What If. What was your relationship like with Phillip? Because Phillip had told us that you immediately told him that you didn't trust him. So walk us through what happened there.
You could write an entire book, I think, on Phillip Sheppard. He's just a weird dude. He's playing a role though. So this is, I did figure out he's playing a role. He's like a watered down Boston Rob. I think that's the easiest way to describe Phillip Sheppard on Survivor. And he did this bully thing like day 1 or day 2, and I wasn't for it. I was like, you're not going to just bully me. And I hate bullies. I want to see a bully go down. As soon as you say, join me or die, I'm like, I will kill you and we'll both die. I don't like it. So that's why I reacted that way to Phillip. His alliance was in control for the first part of the game. So I was at risk of getting voted out for what I said there. And thankfully it didn't go that way. After Survivor Caramoan ended, there's a big charity event. There was a big charity event in Florida called Parts of Reality. I sat next to him in the autograph line where people walk by and we do autographs and stuff. And he was super cool. He was super nice. He was not weird or argumentative or bullying in any way. He saw that I did art. He didn't know I did all this comic art and stuff. So he's like, wow, your art's great. And he started to like look at it. And even if it was for show, he showed some interest in my art. Phillip is a cool dude outside of Survivor. So he's definitely playing a role. He definitely was playing like a watered down Boston Rob. I think if he ever came back, he would step right back into that role again too. And I think it's an entertainment thing. I think it's just like a show thing and not a like, I need to win the money thing.
Yeah. So when you were getting ready to go out there for Caramoan, did you have a sense of who was going to be out there with you? Or was it a bit of a surprise when you got there?
Kinda. I had an idea of who might be out there because of who was on TV. I didn't know they would be so stacked for certain seasons. Like I didn't realize, I thought there might be like 2 from one season, not 3. And then I was surprised to see Brandon and Dawn and Cochran out there. Who else was stacked? Francesca,
Andrea
and Andrea. Yeah, all 3 of them at the same time. That was a little much. It was cool to see Malcolm. And Malcolm was cool too because he was new to all this. He had not seen Philippines yet. So it was all new to him. So we had to be like, basically, we're like the old timer favorites that are like walking him through. You're going to be famous, dude. Like people are going to love you. And he's like, no, they aren't. We're like, yeah, they are. Like, clearly they are. So I had an idea of who might be there. And then in casting, you see people as you're walking around. Like at casting, you're not allowed to talk to anybody and they're doing all their stuff, but you do see people like walking down the hall. So you happen to see like Suri and you're like, oh crap, Suri might be there again or this or that. So I had an idea, but I wasn't at home like making a list. Cochran would be somebody, I think, who would be at home making a list, or Andrea would be at home making a list. Like, how can I game this out before I even get there? I was not doing that. So I was a little shocked by some people, and some people I was like, oh yeah, they clearly deserve another chance.
So going back to Malcolm, so you obviously he had been playing back-to-back seasons, and he forms this alliance called the Three Amigos. I mean, was it ever a consideration for you to work with the Three Amigos past like the Phillip vote, or was it never a consideration for you?
It was not a consideration. Malcolm's, I think, still kind of mad about that, and so is Reynolds. I just didn't trust him. I did not trust them. They had this like rah-rah guy thing, like strong men to the end, play an honorable game. All the same stuff that you see on, I think, Survivor 48 with David. This idea of like, let's play an honorable game and fight till the bitter end kind of stuff. I just didn't believe it, and I didn't start an alliance with them, so it felt like I was just tagged on at the end. Like I'm basically the first guy to get voted off at Final Four. So I just played them. I just listened to what they said and said, sure. And then when I would go talk to the entire group and I'd be like, hey, tell me who you're going to vote for, or point to a name on the thing. The majority was always against them. The majority always was saying, we're going to vote out Reynolds, or we're going to vote out Eddie, or we're going to vote out Malcolm because they're dominating challenges. And I just was like, fine, let's stick with the majority. I don't want to beat these 3 guys. I want to be with the people I want to be with.
Right.
So, and I'm sure that made them mad. Like I just never trusted. I trusted Eddie. Eddie, I trusted. I think everybody trusted Eddie. I didn't trust Reynolds at all, and I didn't trust Malcolm.
Yeah, that makes sense. Shane, anything else for Erik?
Yeah, I guess one thing from Caramoan, like, is there anything that you feel like they didn't show about your game that you wish was shown? Because I mean, they definitely gave you a quieter edit for whatever reason.
I didn't do it too much strategically. So when it first was on TV, I was like, holy crap, I'm not even in the show. And then by the end of it, and some years later, I realized like I really didn't do much, and it was kind of intentional on my part. My biggest concern with Caramoan was lower my threat level, just continually lower my threat level. Like if it comes up and it says, can you sit out for gummy bears? You should sit out for gummy bears, because people will say, Erik doesn't care. Erik's not a threat. If it came to the strategy sessions at the end of the day, like I don't need to be in the conversation all day. I just need to be in the conversation at the end when they say, this is who we decided that we're going to vote out. So by me doing that, I think I forced them to edit me out, because I was a non-issue for most of the game. I only came time. One thing that I did notice about editing was they always showed my parchment that I wrote the name on at tribal at the end. It was like the deciding vote. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be the deciding vote. I didn't want to be in the conversation. I didn't need to be. I basically needed to be the executive that signs off on it. Like that's kind of how I wanted to go into it. Fans at the time said that was a stupid idea, or you're not really a strategist. I got a lot of criticism about this. Flash forward to maybe like season 41 or 42, and you have some players who are doing something similar. Like I think like Erica from season 41 really just kind of played in the middle and lowered her threat level and won, because she did that more subtle thing. That's what I was going for. Like that was the goal. The goal was not be the strategist. At the time I was like, why aren't they showing any of this? And now looking back on it, I think it was just kind of like not where they were at as a production company. Like they weren't focused on that. They were focused on Phillip has pink underwear, and Brandon got into a fight with Phillip, and the one guy, what's the big guy's name? I can't remember his name.
Shamar
got something in his eye and is fighting with Sherry. Like it was more like Jerry Springer type of editing, rather than like a subtleties of positioning type of editing. So it makes more sense.
Yeah. And obviously your edit kind of goes into then the reunion show, which is how did you feel about that reunion show and how they did that one in particular?
Yeah, I had a good post-season recap with Dalton Ross where I trashed it. And I didn't even realize that was what I was doing. I thought I just had a phone call from Dalton Ross and he's like, how'd the night go? Like just talking to me, but it was all on the record. I had no idea it was all on the record. And so I just was casually like, it kind of sucked. And it was like a fake reunion show. But then he printed it as Reichenbach slams finale. I was just talking to you on the phone. It wasn't a great finale, it wasn't great, but they can't all be great. So the people off the stage sucked. That really sucked.
Yeah.
The stage. And I think they recognized that years later. They realized, that's not great.
Yeah. Shane, anything else? No,
I'm good.
If you guys want to talk about the immunity thing, I'm fine talking about that too. There's no, this has been so many years. I've been asking so many times. Right. It's like wallpaper, but it's just like another thing to talk about. But if you had to ask a what if, is it what if I kept the necklace, or is it a what if of I guess, what if I never won the necklace? Because that's another thing that could happen too.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like those are both interesting, because my guess as a fan watching is if you didn't win the necklace, they vote you out unanimously, and there's not much you can do, I would assume, right?
Yeah.
But I guess the bigger question is, so, okay, let's say you don't give up the necklace. Obviously, you're in Final Four. Does that mean Natalie goes in 5th place?
Yeah. The other thing, I guess another what if would have been if I would have taken Natalie either sent Natalie to Exile Island or brought Natalie with me to the reward, both of those would have been better scenarios. Because if I take Natalie with me to the reward, we work together to figure something out instead of her like hating my guts.
Right.
If I sent Natalie to Exile Island, she could have still gotten the idol and still turned on me, but it could have been more like a 50-50, like go with the girls or go with Erik.
Right.
If Natalie had, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that could have happened there. There's not very many variables there too. The only variables that really could change in that scenario are the decision I made with Natalie, and then that leads to two options of how does Natalie react at each of those situations. And then it's if she has an idol or if she doesn't have an idol. And she's not turned against me at that point. She may be still against me because she just believes more in the female alliance. Cirie, Parvati, Amanda, they're in alliance. They would not break in any way. Pretty much all of their votes would go towards Natalie if there's any scenario where I have immunity. I think the best case scenario would have been if we could rewind time or do the multiverse thing. I send Natalie to Exile Island. Natalie finds the idol. I win immunity. I keep immunity because Natalie is not working hard against me to give it up. And then Natalie plays her idol at the same time. And so Cirie, Parvati, Amanda are forced to vote one of themselves out. Break up that trio. They're voting out Cirie because Parvati and Amanda are closer than with Cirie. And Cirie generally, they kind of started to distrust her at the end anyway because she's playing so good.
Yeah, right.
That would have been a nutso scenario. And then you'd have a final with two fans and two favorites.
Right.
That could go pretty much. Ooh, that could be. There's some crazy stuff that could happen there because you're gonna have some ties.
Right.
Yeah. But what did you think your odds of winning like those last two immunity challenges were? I forget what was that final four.
It was the one that Erik won in Caramoan, pretty much, wasn't it? They're similar to it.
One I won in Caramoan. I'm trying to think what the other one was, but no, I think I would have a good shot. I mean, I was in really good fitness. I was in a good, I was a runner. I was a cross country college runner. Unless it was like holding on to something forever, which I don't think it was.
It was
the final
the
one.
Challenge.
Oh, it was the ball.
Yeah, it was like the ball. Yeah.
Yeah. I might have trouble with that. And anytime I would have to win all the way to the end. I would have had to win all the way to the end. And then at the end, they would have said, we're going to give it to Erik on the merits of winning again and again and again and again. And he's a fan, so he doesn't have the experience. I think it would have been a really good shot to win. More than Caramoan even. I don't think I would have had as good of odds in Caramoan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like especially like if you were against Amanda, I mean, maybe it's a little tough because Ozzy kind of, had love goggles for Amanda, but I feel like he also really appreciates the challenge wins.
Yeah.
And then I think others would have definitely voted for you because it seemed like Amanda didn't have the best reception with the jury. I mean, she almost won, but wasn't.
There's this. She had a little bit of the Dawn thing going on. I don't know a name for this other than mixing emotions and strategy. It's like you can leave a bad taste in people's mouth if you manipulate, if they feel like they're being like emotionally manipulated. And that's what Dawn did wrong. And that's what Amanda did wrong. Amanda would be really good terms with you and friends with you. And then there was really no boundary between the strategy type of stuff. So for some reason, other people can do that really well. Like Cirie does that really great. Like you can be really great friends with Cirie and she'll still like cut your throat and you're like, oh, good job, Cirie. Amanda, she can't do that. It feels like way more personal when she does it for whatever reason.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and it seemed like the women were just using like the emotions and like whatever to manipulate you in that moment rather than what the jury actually thought of your game.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. That's all that was. Yeah.
Well, well, thank you so much, Erik, for jumping on with us.
Yeah, all good. I like the idea of the multiverse, honestly, because I do think there's a lot of luck in this game. A lot of people are like, I'm the winner and I'm the best at this. Or I think some people do get like that Or if they get voted out first, they're like, oh, they feel bad about themselves. Like, I really screwed up. There's so much freaking luck, you guys.
Oh yeah.
It's like, I just imagine the Thanos, like when Dr. Strange freaks out and looks at all these different worlds. And then he's like, oh, we lose in almost every dimension. And it's like, what are you going to do? You just try your best. So.
Absolutely. Well, with that, we'll see you all next time for more multiverse Survivor what ifs on the Tribe of Nerds.
Thanks, guys.